Very excited to get my good friend Richard on the platform. Richard Fairgray, the Richard Fairgray. So I'm trying to think of
The
like
only one.
how crazy is this interview going to be? I mean, what last time I remember we had a dog pooping in the middle of one. Um, just pure madness. Richard, are you Richard? By all means, if you feel the need to get up, I mean, at some point and get in the corner, let's make it happen. So, did you see the
You can
Thunderbolts?
never plan these things. Yeah.
What was your thoughts? You like it?
I think if you didn't know that films could be about depression, it would be mind-blowing. But if
Mhm.
you've seen other movies, it's just fine. Like it's fine.
Mhm.
I really like Sentry as a character, so I was excited to see him all
You know,
big and stuff. But
I felt they kind of underplayed him a little bit, and we get that with a lot of different Marvel characters, but Sentry was like the Void is like a nasty dude in the comics, right? Like,
yeah, and like the first Sentry comic is so interesting and so weird, and like him as just a guy wandering around with a bath towel pinned to his shirt, and like maybe he's just a drunk. It's so much more interesting than anything they did in that film.
you know, I remember reading. I still have it too. World War Hawk. And like how the Sentry and the Hulk had to go together, and like that's how like they got him to chill is to have the Sentry and the Hulk just beat the shit out of each other. It was brutal, man. It was brutal.
Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff.
So
There's a. Have you read the first Sentry book?
I don't believe I have. I definitely want to check it out now, though, especially with the.
There's a really cool bit in it where he like angry at the Hulk has forgotten that he is Bruce Banner and
Mhm.
is just on this quest to like track down Bruce Banner and kill him because all he knows is that Bruce Banner made him like this. It's really interesting stuff.
You're kind of
Are we
chopping out a
lagging
little.
at all? 'Cause we've got a
Yes,
lot of.
yes. I'm not dropping frames on my end. If you want to maybe dip out and maybe
Okay,
try to
there
pop
was
back
like a
in.
huge.
Yes, it just happened again, I think. All right, everyone. We will be live in just a few moments. We always do these preemptive stream chats just to make sure everything's going good. Looks like we were dropping a little bit of frameage. So stay with us. Stay with us. I hope everybody is having a fantastic Friday. We are going to be talking about Campfire. There he is.
Hello.
Hello. You know
It
what?
turns out. It turns out that I had set myself to an HD camera and had it be touching up my appearance. So I think that was fucking us up.
Give me 1 second. I just noticed my StreamYard thing was a little out of whack too. Which is weird because like I have not touched this thing at all. Beta, welcome to the stream over on Twitch. How you doing? That's not the window. That's not the window. On the window. All right, let me just this fixed real quick. There we go. There we go. Yeah, for whatever reason, it must have been like an update to StreamYard. A lot of my windows, like the camera windows, the StreamYard campaign window was all messed up. We're fixed though. You sound great.
Great.
I sound great. We look great.
Absolutely. With no touch-ups to my appearance from
Me
my
neither.
camera.
I literally just woke up at 10:20 and I was like, I got to get an interview ready. Like this is like the old days.
I have been at my office since 3 a.m. because I'm a healthy, normal person.
I know. I seen you doing work at 5. I'm like, dude, what is this guy? Like, I need whatever you have. Like, I wake up in the morning, I just hate life. I'm like, give me like 5 more minutes. Richard's like, I knocked out 3 graphic novels by noon.
Well, I'm on this kick right now where like I had an idea yesterday morning for a new I've been doing these little 100-page horror stories, and I came up with a new one yesterday morning, and I had it written by like 10 a.m. and then I'm like I am meant to be starting work on this other thing that got announced yesterday called Where Will You Go, and I'm meant to be working on this other sort of secret thing about how I might have saved James Gunn's life. And then instead I was like, fuck it, maybe I'll make this book. And so I'm having to sort of work this book in around other things and try and get it finished by Sunday. by adding an extra 2 hours to the beginning of each day.
I really love how vague that was too. Like, I may or may not have saved James Gunn. You'll have to read to find out.
I don't have the title kind of figured out yet. I had a weird experience, and I think the book is going to be called "What If I Saved James Gunn's Superman Movie." And the goal is to like launch it the same day as the Superman film comes out, because I'm very fucking pumped for this film. But I don't want to give away too much. I kind of talked about it a little bit on a live stream the other night, but hardly anyone actually sees these things, so it's sort of just out there, I guess. But yeah, I might have convinced someone not to kill James Gunn despite the interference of a Henry Cavill chatbot.
Oh, wow. Okay. We were getting
Yeah.
ready to
Yeah.
see the Superman. I mean, if you go to Amazon, you could pre-order tickets, see it a couple days early. But it's like an hour and a half drive for me. So it's like, I don't know if I driving that far. Like, I don't know, maybe. But I'm all set on my end. Are you good to go?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Let's get this party started in 3, 2, 1. Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic episode of Keepin' It Geekly. We're hanging out with my good friend, Richard Fairgray. We're here to talk about Campfire and everything in between. That intro felt so weird. I think I didn't say it quite like I used to, but hey,
Yeah.
we're back.
A little rusty.
Yeah, we're back breaking our hiatus with our great friend. Richard, how the hell have you been?
I mean, how has anyone been? The world is absolute fucking chaos right now, and I'm surviving. I'll say that. I wouldn't say thriving, although it depends minute to minute how I'm feeling.
Hey, I mean, surviving. I think that's just at the bare minimum what we have to do as humans, right? I mean, it's hard for us to thrive, but when we do, we thrive to the high heavens. Richard, I see you traveling all over the world, hitting up so many cons back to back, knocking out books left to right. I mean, it was hard for me to keep up with you during my downtime. You've been one busy individual. How many books have you done since our last interview was probably what, like 6-7 months ago? Like, how many books have you knocked out since then?
What book were we talking about then?
That's a great question. Oh my gosh. It wasn't Octopus. It was
Octopus was like 3 years ago now.
It was what was it? I'm trying to remember.
Did we talk Ambitious Failures? Did we talk Frog Alley?
It was after Ambitious Failures. We didn't do Frog Alley. What's the one that was after that?
Haunted Hill 4.
It was a memoir.
Oh, no. Ambitious Failures was the last memoir I did before before Get My Head Straight.
So maybe it was Ambitious.
Yeah, it must have been. So since then I've done Frog Alley, Haunted Hill 4, Horror Shorts 3, The Same Water, Crooked Little Town, In the Eye, Small Change, Get My Head Straight, Still Not Dead, and now Campfire. So yeah, 10 books.
Wow. I mean, a lot of people are, I would say, fortunate to break just even a couple books, and you're just knocking out 10. I know you have the goal of knocking out 300 before you kick the can.
No, before I turned 40, which was
before you turned 40. That's right. That's right. My apologies on that.
So it turns out that I miscounted, and I actually hit 313 by my 40th birthday.
Okay,
so.
what an overachiever, right? You're like, yeah. So what's the new goal now?
That's the hard thing is I don't know. Like, I mean, the goal was so arbitrary anyway. Like my real goal is to apologize for existing by making comics and to break people's hearts and rebuild them and I hope leave every situation better than when I arrived. And that's not always easy to do. My comics are having more of an impact than I thought they would these days, and that feels pretty good. And I'm having a lot of I get a lot of people making this, like, I'll describe a comic and they'll make this noise. They'll just go, huh, at me when they hear the sort of theme of something, and that feels powerful right now. I'm off to the side of this window. I can see like the cover of my new ghost story about dementia, and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna fuck some people up.
I mean, coming off your last campaign, that book was pretty powerful as well. So before we dive into Campfire, let's just talk a little bit about your last work.
which now my last work was Small Change, which I think no one's seen yet, or I've sent out the digital
Last
rewards.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, that was Small Change.
Was it? Oh
Then
my
before
God,
that,
Richard, what are you doing? You were just
are
like pumping them out left and right.
I mean, yeah, this is my 7th for the year.
Oh my gosh. So what was Small Change about?
Small Change is about the way that we desperately hold on to the idea of being in a state of flux because it feels like anything's possible. Um, it was like I'm doing these like 100-page horror stories where they're not really comics, they're illustrated horror. And one reviewer described them as it's like Junji Ito meets feminism and anxiety. And I really like that, and I feel really good about that. So I'm just going to use that as the tagline for them forever. So this one is about a person who hates their life, and so they start gathering change, because if they can gather enough small change, they might have enough to make a big change.
I love
And
that.
eventually their piggy bank bursts and sweeps them away in the change, and when they open their eyes, they are someone different, somewhere new, and they start proselytizing about the change and how important it is to always be in that state, and how other people will get wrapped up in the excitement, but other people don't really want the same change as them, and so they keep trying to drag the person back down to earth. And it's I don't know, it's a big metaphorical messy thing about, like, of course it's important to change and grow, but there are you it's very easy for the rut you get stuck in to just be a rut of never settling.
So what is that piggy bank representation of? I mean, you said it was a whole metaphorical piece. What's the symbolism of that piggy bank?
Well, piggy banks are where you store change.
You got me.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
We
I
we
love
have
that.
pretty terrible lag. We have
Yeah.
pretty terrible lag on this. Are we okay?
I mean, on my end, I'm not dropping frames or anything. Um,
Okay,
I
there just seems to be a big pause after each thing I say before you say anything. It's you know what? Let's just pretend we're doing live coverage of a major weather event. I can go like this.
This right in. Cody from Keeping It Geekly. You know, I need to get into like if you do movies, hire me. I could do your little like intro, like Richard Fairgray with Campfire. So you are diving a little
I
bit.
like the idea that you're like, yeah, I want to pause on this for a second. Like your thought is, I know there's already a guy who does that voice for trailers, but I could do it also.
Yeah,
You're like
yeah,
not
you
bringing
know.
anything new. You're like, I can do an impression of a guy that's still around.
You know, I could do an impression. I can't hit that deep, you know, but hey, you know, if the spot ever opens up, I'm here. I'm ready for it. So we're diving more into the horror aspect. I mean, we have another horror book coming out, Campfire. It's currently in campaign right now. We have about 12 hours left. So if you guys are watching, right here is a link. Be sure to pull it up with us. If you're able to back, we would love to see that. But simply putting this on Facebook and Twitter, Blue Sky, anywhere you can, word of mouth is 100% free, and it helps out indie creators around the world. So get to sharing, get to liking, getting that out there. An original horror graphic novel, and I love the idea of this. You know, it's a deeply unsettling story about being lost in the woods, which is very scary in itself, right? Every tree looks the same. You walk around in circles. So very terrifying in that aspect. But even just having ghost stories around a campfire, right? Like we've all been, you know, that age, like where we told spooky stories and stuff. What prompted you to come out with this book?
It was I can't remember if it was on Connections or on one of the like the knockoff versions of Connections. You know that the puzzle game where you have to put forward like figure out the collections of four that match together. And one day the four things were words that come after camp, and it's just sort of triggered this thing in my head that went like, the others all feel like names of camps, but what if there was a camp called Campfire? And then that sort of stuck. I was like, I just want to use that as a title for something. What could it be about? And I've been working in the background on this collection of stories about a haunted house. Um, I'm really I'm really interested in the idea of like how we share stories and how we hold on to stories, and how like specifically like the oral tradition of ghost stories connects us. And one thing that keeps coming up in my work is this idea of like people finding a place that doesn't fit in, that is essentially a portal to another possibility. And often for me, that is a haunted house, because every kid knows which house on their street is haunted. And it's really improbable that there are that many haunted houses out there. So my thought is, or my thought has been for a while, what if there's just one? Like, what if this is like those kitchens in like modern kind of tourist trap areas, where there'll be a 7 restaurants that share one kitchen, so you're just getting like variations on grilled fish with different sauces, and like pretending it's a different ethnicity of food. um what if like the house on your street that is haunted is just a different doorway into the house on another street that's haunted? And what if when we walk in there, we're not seeing ghosts, we're seeing the images of the other people who have wandered in from other places? And it got me thinking, like, where are the other places we gather? And the campfire is an obvious one. Everyone has a memory of sitting around a fire telling stories. Everyone has a memory of a piece of media that involves this, whether it be Midnight Society, whether it be Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, whether it be like any of the various Goosebump short story collections, or like there are so many different versions of the there is a fire here, so it's time for us to tell something spooky. And I think it's because obviously everyone's weirdly lit, everyone is a little bit obscured by something, you're staring across something dangerous, and the thing that connects you are words.
Yeah, that is
And I got to
that's
thinking,
insane. I
what
love
if
it.
there what if there's only one campfire? Like, it's as simple as that. Like, what if every time you look at a fire, you're looking at the same fire? It's the fire that draws you in, it offers you warmth and light, and you have to offer it something in return. And in this case, a story. And what happens to you if you don't have a story to feed the fire? What's it going to feed off instead?
I just love that whole concept as a whole. I mean, the importance of fire, right? Like humanity as a whole probably would not be around if it wasn't for the invention of fire. Well, invention. I sound dumb. The finding of fire. Like they're like, oh, the fire. Next thing, great thing next to sliced bread. Like, let's go.
Imagine being the first person to dig up a fire.
But just the premise of a campfire kind of being like a portal, like like you see a ghost or whatever, and that's just other people looking into the fire, or even just like the idea in itself. I love that. I guess where did you like get the inspiration for that?
um I mean, a little bit it was just out of necessity. I have been working on this book called "Lights That Guide You Home" for a couple of years. That is the most labor-intensive book that I've ever done, and the art on it is taking me like 2 days per page to do. And I don't want to release any of it until the whole thing is finished, because I don't want people to be like stuck waiting for something for years. If, as has happened to me constantly, other shit comes up. I mean, how like if you'd asked me a year ago how many books would I have out by now, I would have said 330 probably. But here I am at 314 because I did 35 conventions last year, and I uh, had to spend a month in Europe for work, and I had to look after my husband after a surgery, and all these things that just get in the way. Um, I mean, I guess I can't, get in the way. Oh no, I have to go to conventions. I have to hang out and drink and talk about
Got to
comics
travel
for
in
me.
Europe. Oh no.
But no, sure, but like they get in the way of making comics. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
very specific needs when it comes to lighting for drawing because of my eyesight. So I have to have my 9 lamps with me. I can't take my drawing on the road. I can write when I'm traveling, but quite so often, you do these cons and you're out till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then you're getting up at 6 and heading to the con floor to like spend all day dancing and selling. And I'm getting older, and sometimes it takes a day to recover when I get home, and
Hmm.
sometimes it takes a day or two to travel home, and that all adds up. But I had I don't want to I don't want to put out Lights That Guide You Home until it's completely done. It's a 4-part thing of like 4 48-page issues. But the style that it's done in is like watercolor and then inks and then a second layer of watercolor and then a little bit of collage, and then there's all this stuff where I'm trying to mimic a lot of things that I could do in Photoshop but physically, because I don't like using a computer. And so it's just really labor intensive. But there's also this point in the production of each page where it looks really fucking sick, and it's about an hour into making each page. And the reason that I can't stop there is because the book is about a town where everything is cobblestones, everything is bricks, and I need to put in that detail for the story. And it
Oh
looks good when
God.
it's finished, but I need that for the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I need to figure out this art style and see if it can work in something else. What is something really easy that I could do that would actually justify stopping the page at that early point? And I was like, well, the woods is a bunch of it's a lot of black, a lot of shadow, a lot of really like solid waving shapes of like just weird distortions. Um and a lot of like kind of dust and crackle. And so I started doing this experiment where I wanted to draw this picture of a mouth inside a fire to see if it like I want to create the idea of like just the fire is eating you.
Mm-hmm.
And that became the cover. And then while I was working on that, I started thinking, what's a story I would tell around a campfire? And the first line that popped into my head was, a boy follows a girl into the woods. He doesn't know who she is or where she's from, only that they were swimming in the same lake. And then I thought, well, what if that's just the dialogue? What if the story starts with someone telling that story as it's happening? And what if this is about like taking that playful nature of following someone because they seem wonderful and getting wrapped up in a story and then finding yourself somewhere that you don't really have the tools to deal with?
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I'd finished drawing the cover, I had sort of the entire book mapped out in my head, and I wrote it all in one night. And there's well, I didn't write it all. I wrote the first draft in one night, did all the layouts for it. I know what it's going to, how it was going to work out. I drew the whole thing. It was weirdly quick, and then I looked at it and I thought I could. There's one other story I could put in here. Like there's another 8-page ghost story that one of the other people could tell around the campfire that would slot in perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I've been a little cagey on the Kickstarter. I haven't told anyone the page count for it yet. It's because I don't know if I'm going to put in that extra 8-page story, because what it's going to mean is like basically 4 days that I have to have free to make it. And I genuinely don't know if that's possible because, as I say, yesterday I wrote a new horror story that I'm going to be drawing till Sunday. Sunday, I have to start work on this dementia ghost story to get enough pages done before I leave for another con on Wednesday. And then I'm traveling until July 7th, and then I am in complete San Diego mode until that con is over, and then it's Boston and Chicago and Harrisburg and Edmonton and Baltimore and New York and London and Harrogate and San Francisco and LA.
It's
And then
almost
it's
like
Christmas.
that almost was I forget what song it is, but it's like the way you just listed off all those cities reminded me of a song.
It's Mambo number 5. It's I'm fucking every convention.
So I mean, one of the biggest factors with telling scary stories around a campfire is like the cadence, the enunciation in your voice, the way you present the story. How do you translate that onto paper?
So what I did is I figured out the ghost stories. These are all original ghost stories of mine.
Mm-hmm. I really like the textures and the artwork in these pages too. I mean, I've always known your work to not be super like, colored, like, you used, I would we say like more of mute colors, like not super vibrant, but the way the color is on the page. And I know often in your work, color to some degree can have a little bit of symbolism. Are we seeing any sort of symbolism with the colors on these pages? Hmm. Hmm. One thing I've always really loved about your work is your perspective, your paneling. Um, Richard doesn't have any audio on our end. Oh, hold on. That is. Let's see. Uh oh. Uh oh. Okay. So about half of that probably cut off. Ooh, not a problem.
You're
Uh,
still hearing me, but are they
no,
not?
I could still hear you. It's something on my OBS because I haven't streamed in such a hot second.
Okay.
That something updated and must have messed it up. Not a big deal though. I can patch that and fix that. Snub69, thank you for catching that. Before we like did a whole like half like when we switched to the campaign is when it cut.
Okay.
So we still have most of our beginning. I can cut and patch. Not a big deal. Yeah, we're good.
Can
We're good.
can they hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Because I see you. For whatever reason, just the campaign. So I have everything preset up. I've never touched it. There must have been an update in OBS. And I went through and I thought I caught everything, but apparently I did not. My apologies on that. But not a problem. We're good. We're good at the segues. We're good at figuring this out.
Yeah.
So
And thank God I didn't say anything really like interesting.
no, you did.
I think
That's why I always love our conversations. Um, so thank you everyone for tuning in. We are looking at Campfire, a horror graphic novel, currently at $4,098. Guys, you have 11 hours to help push this over that 5,000 mark. We can get it there. I believe we can do this as a team. And Richard, real quick, one thing I've always loved about your work, about just everything you produce, is your paneling, your perspective. It seems like you are always breaking the boundaries with the way you go about laying out these pages. Get my head straight, for example. I read that yesterday. I love how you took one of our interviews, no big deal, and used it as like a narration for the story. And it was so insane to kind of see the balance between our conversation and then like what's going on inside your head. Now,
Now,
when you
I want to be clear, I didn't take one of our interviews. That is it's completely fake scripted interview. The idea was that I very specifically didn't reach out to you for that campaign because I was like, I would rather there not really be an interview. And
Mhm.
I launched so many of my campaigns by talking to you. So I started writing that on the morning that the campaign launched.
See, I love the way you work because I read it and I was like, you know what? I don't remember really saying any of the, or I don't remember sounding this smart. Maybe he's just trying to do me a great justice here.
There was going to be this bit at the end where you're not in the final scene. And originally, because I just kind of I didn't really have the pacing figured out, and the book took a lot longer to draw than I thought it was going to because of like actually the scenes with you being more intensive to draw than I intended them to be. But you were going to be in that final scene with the zebra, and you were going to say, "Hey, how come you didn't actually reach out to me for an interview for this one?" And I wanted to have that little joke, and then I was like, there's not room for it, and it's too fucking inside, too up my own ass for my own good here. But I just thought like the way that you and I talk when we do these, it's so all over the place and so many tangents, and I wanted that book to be a story about the way that the stories layer over each other
Hmm.
and intrude on each other.
And it's funny you say that because I would probably say you're one of my favorite people to interview. Just like it's honestly like two bros just like chatting on it, and that's always the idea of keeping it geekly. Like it's like two friends talking about a comic book, and I feel like it's a perfect fit for that. Like our conversations.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I talk about this all the time with my book Four Color Heroes, where the reason that book exists is because I was missing talking about comics with people. And I'd had that idea for a long time, but like the motivation to actually make it was like I can write a story, because this was during COVID. And I said, like, I can write a story now about people talking about comics together and how important that connection is, because that is the thing that I'm missing the most. And like, this is why I got into Twitter Spaces so heavily in 2021, and this is why you and I know each other. It's like my life is outside of conventions. It's pretty isolated.
Hmm.
I'm in my office from 3 a.m. till 11 p.m. most days. And aside from going to movies, because I live a 4-minute walk from two different theaters, um, I'm not really around a lot of people most days. And so getting the chance to just talk about comics, and especially if I can do it while I'm working, that's so much better.
So speaking of movies, I mean, you are watching a movie. It seems like every few days. Um,
Yeah, I try to see 4 or 5 a week.
jealous. Do you feel like that in itself? I know it's probably mostly an entertainment purpose, but do you feel like that kind of helps stretch the imagination, like stretch like different perspective views for potential panels?
Um, yes and no. I mean, I've always loved movies. But I find it really hard. Like, I don't really watch movies at home at all, because if I'm at home or at my office, I feel like I should be working. Um, and then you're not paying full attention. I can watch TV while I work because TV is nothing.
Hmm.
Unless like I can't watch a good show for the first time while I'm working. I couldn't watch The Rehearsal while I was working. I couldn't watch Halt and Catch Fire while I'm working. Like, these shows are too engrossing. But normal TV can just be on in the background. Like, I can get through 9 seasons of One Tree Hill and not pay attention and not miss anything. But movies, like, I have to be in a theater. I have to like take myself out, put myself down in front of something, and just pay attention and like let it fully envelop me. And I could never really justify that. I spent so much of my life living very far away from anything, and even like when I'm in LA, obviously I'm near a million movie theaters, and it's great. But I also don't drive, so I still have to factor in like an hour to get to certain theaters or certain things are showing. And like there was just so many things getting in the way, and I felt guilty doing it. And then my husband said to me, he said, I think you're the only person I know who treats movies like their work. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, oh, just the way you talk about them afterwards, you're clearly like working. Your brain is working while you're watching them. You're thinking about how it can make the thing you're doing better. And like, I don't think I'm the only person who does that. Like, I
Hmm.
think that most people who are in creative fields do that when they absorb any media. But it clicked for me that it meant I didn't have to feel guilty for seeing movies. And that was life changing. And the same week that happened, there was some fuck on the internet who I don't know who made a comment somewhere that the reason Richard Fairgray gets so many books done is because he doesn't have any work-life balance. And I somehow saw this, and I went, fuck that guy. And so I stalked him a little bit, and I saw on his Facebook page, he had said, he had bragged that he had seen 50 movies that year. And I was like, those are dumb numbers for cowards and babies. Fuck you. And so I don't remember his name. There's no way he'll ever know, but I, since then, have seen minimum 10 movies a month.
You're like, you know what, you son of a bitch? I'm going to see way more than 50. Fuck you.
I have seen 79 movies so far this year in theaters. Now, admittedly, like 11 of those were in 1 week during a film festival, but still, I'm doing the work. I'm seeing 2 movies tonight. I'm seeing 3 movies tomorrow. Seeing a movie on Sunday, and then probably nothing until at least Wednesday.
You know, and if you're that random strange guy on the internet, I hope you're watching this. I hope you're writhing in your seat. And I hope number 51 sucks for you, personally. So we are looking at some of the rewards here. You can get a physical and a digital copy of this for just $25. Get the digital sent to your computer, $10. Awesome price. We have a double horror pack. So you're going to get Campfire and Frog Alley for just $40. I love the pricing on this. I feel like your pricing for Kickstarter has always been phenomenal. We have the retail tier, the retail mix pack. And then we start diving into the discography. We have the Richard Sucks digitally. Over 1,300 pages of that Richard Fairgray goodness. Horror bundle right here. Just a slew of books to keep you up at night, keep you under those covers and spooky. And then, of course, we have original art. You can get page 1 for $150. Page 2 for $150, and then of course you've sold some, and then that cover. This is such a gorgeous cover. I love this. I love this.
Yeah, thanks.
Now I know the way you've made covers before has like the way you do it. You just, I feel like you push the boundaries of like physical work. I mean, in the age where we see more and more people head towards digital, you are always going above and beyond. Like, you know, with the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, those covers you would hand make, take a picture, Photoshop a little bit of the digital you know, lines and stuff. But it just seems like you're always going. Wow,
here's
look at that
cover
thing
right here.
Here, hold on, let me.
So like, yeah, it is exactly as it looks. You know, it's I painted the fire. I drew the teeth. It's my friend Jackie's teeth. I have she gave me a casting of her teeth that she got from her dentist.
Oh, that's so
for some
cool.
reason. So I was able to position them into the right kind of gaping maw.
You know, I'm kind of disappointed. You know, I was hoping you were going to be like, yeah, I told her just to open her mouth. Like,
well, so there was, I photographed her to use as a model for a Haunted Hill cover for volume 3. And it was going to be just like a close up on her from like her neck down as she's just holding a cigarette and there's a ghost coming out of the smoke. And it just wasn't working. Like I never put people on the cover of Haunted Hill, or never like in the kind of the photorealistic covers. I never used people, and it just didn't feel right. And so I ended up just doing that cover for volume 4, but in the style of the interior art. And I did the toothbrushes covered in cum for volume 3 for the photorealistic cover.
Minty fresh, baby. Let's go.
And you know, she was upset that I'd never used her on a cover. And then I was doing this one, and I sent her a message after it was done. I was like, hey, by the way, you're on a cover. Here's your teeth. And she was like, she messaged me back. She was like, I saw that and I thought they were my teeth. They have my weird little like bumpy teeth. I'm like, okay, creepy that you know your own teeth so well, you freak.
But, I mean, she does brush them twice a day.
Twice a day? Shit.
Wait, is there supposed to be more? So, Richard, with Campfire, what are you hoping readers take away? You know, when they get this book in their hands, they read it. What type of emotion are you hoping gets invoked when they finish that last page?
I am hoping more than anything that, you know, like I love spooky stories, especially the ones that are kind of authorless at this point, the stories that we tell around campfires. And I would love to be able to like contribute to that kind of storytelling. That's why I'm going to be giving the with all rewards, there's going to be like the prose versions of the stories so that people can read the stories that the kids are telling around the campfire, and I'm hoping tell them themselves around campfires through the rest of their lives.
That's so
It's
cool.
scary stories and jokes are the two things that I would love to know that I'm like part of that tapestry. And with that, can I tell the joke I wrote?
I love that. And for whatever reason, I remember being a kid reading the most scariest stories, scary stories to tell at night or whatever. Like some of those stories
Yeah.
were like traumatizing for like a 10-year-old, 8-year-old.
Yeah. Did you have the versions of those where like it would show you, it would like give you instructions on how to tell the story?
I don't believe so. I remember the crazy artwork ones, like the ones that look like a horrible nightmare.
Yeah, there's a weird edition of those books where it actually gives you instructions on how to tell the story, and I'm like, don't hold my hand.
Yeah, don't hold my hand. I don't want to do that. Let me do it my own way.
So can I tell the joke that I wrote?
Yeah, of course, of
Okay,
course.
I want people to like take this, make it their own, but I'm really proud of this joke. Um, it's a story about the three siblings who never really got along when they were young and haven't really spoken now that they're adults until one day they all get word that their father has died. And surprisingly to all of them, because they were not close with him, he has bequeathed them something in his will. And so the three of them show up, sort of surprised to see the others there, to find out what they're getting. A little confused because obviously the family didn't have a lot of money. There doesn't seem to be any like great assets that could be being left to them. So they're standing at the back listening as one by one different things are bequeathed to other people, until at the very end there's only one thing left, a large crate up at the front by the podium. And lo and behold, the crate is left to the three of them to share. And so they load it into the back of one of their trucks and they drive to the home of the person with the best crowbar, and they stand around it thinking like, is this going to be something that unlocks a great mystery for us? Is this going to be something that tells us why we should have been closer as a family and had that thing that so many other people had, that sense of belonging that they had all lacked, that maybe they could find now in their adult years? And so they pry open the box, and inside it is a time machine. And their father had been an inventor and a workaholic, part of why he'd been so distant. And he'd always said he was working on a time machine, and none of them had ever believed him. But they thought maybe this is it. Maybe this is the reveal that it was all worthwhile. And attached to the time machine is a post-it note with a date and time and a location. And they think, oh my God, maybe this is where the answer is. Maybe this is, or maybe this is a great adventure for us to go on together as siblings. Maybe our father is in danger, trapped in the past, and needs our help. And so they climb into the time machine and they punch in the numbers as written on the post-it. And in a flash, they find themselves in their father's laboratory many years prior. And they look over, and there is their father, alive and a much younger man, working on the very time machine that they've just arrived in. And they climb out, and he turns and he looks at them, and his eyes widen, and he says, my God, it worked. It really worked, which means I must be dead. And I can finally tell you, I'm disappointed in all of you, and I never loved your mother.
What a thing. Wow. Also, I love how you use the word bequeath twice. I mean, can we bring that word back? Can we start like, can we make that a thing? So Campfire, everyone, it is live on Kickstarter. You have 11 hours to back it. Link is in the description of the YouTube video if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube Live. We just threw it in the comments. Richard,
it's also it's kickrichard.com. It's so easy. All my campaigns are always at kickrichard.com.
You should just make it Kick Rich or Kick Dick for short. I don't know.
Oh, I should also start telling people about this. I am launching a new thing called Dicks by Richard, where I draw beautiful cocks for people. I've been making so much money from this at cons lately.
Dude, I seen that on Facebook, and I just love how creative you can get with it, too. Like a 2-foot cock. Like, it's just a cock with 2 feet. I'm like, dude, come on.
Mr. Potato Dick is my favorite. Actually, the one that I get like the most requests to redraw is my Amnesty International dick, where it's a dick with barbed wire wrapped around it and a flame coming out of the tip.
So, Richard, you've been on the show before. You know the drill. We always love asking a little bit of advice for anyone that is watching, as well as what you've been up to outside of creating comics. In in my recent endeavor to become a better interviewer, a better reviewer, I've been reading a lot of literature, and it seems like some of the importance in creating is partaking, reading, watching, listening, opening up your horizons. For any creator out there that is experiencing a new form of media, a new book, a new movie, what are, I guess, some of the more important details to pay attention to? Like, in a movie, like the pacing, or like in a comic book, like how that flip page, the importance of the cliffhanger on that. Like, what are some tips for you, for anyone watching, to help them, I guess, like pinpoint certain details in what they're consuming?
I think always like try and when you're watching something new or reading something new, try and figure out the best way to experience it. Try and look for like what is the intention here, because I think quite often you'll watch or read something and it won't really hit for you. I think that like we live in an age now where everyone has a fucking podcast or everyone talks about who they are and why
What
they
do you
did
mean
everything.
by that?
Here, well, here I am on the show for the 30th time, I think. Like it's it's very easy for us to like believe the press around something. Like so and so made this film and they say it's because of this. Try and stop and really think, why did they really make this film? Look at who they are. Look at what they've done before. Look at what like how they're telling on themselves or how they're like reflecting on themselves. Um, because I think that when you can like find a link to that, even if it's wrong, even if it's not what they're doing, finding that personal connection is really special, and it's something we've really lost because we don't read the backs of like the back of a book. Kids used to tell you what the fucking book was about, and sometimes would highlight a really cool moment in it. The back of a VHS cover would do the same thing, and we don't have a culture around that anymore. Now we have to look at the back of something and see like why someone else thought it was cool, and that's not the same thing. And I think like I went through a really long period where I was just kind of like not engaging that much with everything I was watching and reading. And it was because I didn't have that like little teaser in there. I think that's, yeah, I don't know. This is all kind of garbled, I think. I usually give much clearer, more succinct advice, but it's just something I'm trying to think about a lot at the moment with how I'm experiencing things. Because I've been rewatching a lot of stuff that I hadn't really loved before and really finding it a lot better than on second viewing once I've latched onto something about it that
Hmm.
I didn't see the first time.
I really like diving into like the color composition, like how certain films will have like just a couple colors like per scene, or some I really like, Breaking Bad, for example, was a TV show. Don't do drugs, kid. But the colors of their shirts sometimes represented like their intentions, or
Hmm.
if they were bad or good and stuff. And I really enjoyed that. The Chekhov's gun. Did I say that right? I think I said that right.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
you
it's
can
gone.
how something can be shown in like one of the first acts, and then it's going to pop off. So then I guess like sometimes it even adds more suspense because it's going to happen. Where before, if you didn't really pay attention enough or realize that's what it was, like it just hits you with a surprise. So I feel like once you get to a certain point, you start really watching movies in a completely different way. It's like I read something about once you start learning how to review comics, it starts opening you up to a different field than the average reader. Someone reads a comic book, they enjoy it. It's a superhero, they love it. Spider-Man, Superman, whatever. But like for someone like who's really into the review scene, they'll look at the different compositions of the panel layouts, the technique and the inks, the way the panel leads to another panel, and it's like it just opens you up to a whole different world of observation, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I I think like a thing that I don't want to like use names here, but I have a friend who does a very popular thing that a lot of people uh, quietly shit on because they think it's easy to do, and it probably is. But what isn't easy is all the stuff that came before it. And I look at all the people who are mad at this other person, and I say, well, it wasn't easy for you. You didn't do it. You didn't come up with it. And now, are you coming up with something, or are you spending your time being mad? Are you like, don't look at someone else's thing and use it as an excuse to not do anything or as an excuse to give up. Use it as a launch pad for doing something of your own. If you think something's dumb, do something that is aggressively not dumb and see if it works. You might find something else on the way.
And it might shake you up a little bit. You might realize, like, well, maybe this isn't as dumb as I thought. Like, I need to give this creator kudos for the work they've been putting in.
Yeah, if you ever want to give yourself a real challenge, try writing a stupid thing. It's so fucking hard.
Is that the perfectionist in you, or?
No, not even like okay, I don't want to shit on Garfield because I know he's everyone's internet boyfriend nowadays. But like Garfield is a pretty stupid comic. A lot of people with our modern cynicism look at things like that and say like, it's a fucking cat who's sarcastic, who likes lasagna and hates Mondays. That's nothing. It's stupid. Try writing something that stupid. See if you can do it. See if you can do something new every day with that thing. Because it's actually like it's. I don't like Garfield, but man, it's a really specific tone that I don't know how someone maintains. And I guess Garfield is not probably the best example. I'm just trying to not use examples of people whose work people I know whose work could fit into this kind of category. But like, I'm drawing dick pics at cons, right? Like, I'm selling them for
Very
$20
detailed
a piece.
too.
Very detailed because I can draw dicks beautifully. Like
I know my way around a dick.
I've got a fucking memory palace up here. Of, I've done my 10,000 hours on those bad boys.
A mastery of dicks.
But like, anyone could have thought I'm going to draw dicks and sell them, but no one else did, and does it. And there are probably going to be people out there who are very mad at me for drawing dicks. There are. I know there are. There are. Both because they think it's stupid and because they think it somehow lessens like the serious storytelling I'm doing in my other works, and some because they are personally offended by the idea of penises being displayed. But you know what? A lot of those people are just mad because they can't do it themselves.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could draw one as good as you. I mean, I got the shaft, I got the head. Maybe some all right balls going on, but
some all right balls going on.
The ingenuity you have behind yours, the creativity is just unparalleled. I love it. Richard, thank you so much for being my first guest of the comeback. Sorry for all the technical difficulties we had this time around, guys, but we shook it off. We ended strong. We finished strong. It's like that nervous
can
first
you
hookup.
Imagine? Because I know that your second interview is with Alan Moore, and imagine if you'd had all these technical difficulties for that one. That would have been really embarrassing for you.
Oh my God, everyone's gonna be like, no way. And then they're like, ah. So everyone watching, be sure, once again, check out this Kickstarter. Richard's an awesome creator. If you're not following him on his social media platforms, we do have the blue sky in the description. Give him a follow. Stay up to date with what he's doing. I hope you all have a fantastic Friday. But most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.